And now, your host, Matthew Berry.
Thank you, Jeff the Fish. We are the not ready for basic cable players. In the next few minutes, we're going to make you a much smarter fantasy player and a much dumber person. Coming up today in the show, we've got awful Jets, useless depth charts. But first, Secret Squirrel, what kind of show will we have today?
Fantasy show and chill, Matthew?
Don't mind if I do. Don't mind if I do at all. Hey, it's August 8th. You know, 8-8. So happy Jeff Fisher Day. Now, Jeff's career record was 178, 171, and 1. He won 51% of his games. 10 different times, Jeff Fisher coached a team to somewhere between 7 and 9 wins. In fact, Jeff Fisher is the quintessential average male, standing at decidedly middle of the road, 5'10", 188 pounds. Yes, 188, 88, 8-8. So on 8-8, from a mediocre TV host to a mediocre coach, I salute you, Jeff Fisher. May your day be perfectly, You know, we can have fun with 8-8 all we want, but some teams would actually kill for 8 wins. Teams like the New York Jets, who once again received some bad news, or in Jets terms, news. Quincy Enunwa, the team's #1 wide receiver, is out for the year with a bulging disc in his neck. Brutal. We wish him a speedy recovery, but we are a fantasy show, so now, where can you find fantasy value in Jets games? Well, let's start with a team they're facing. Last year, if you had just started whatever defense was facing the Jets each week, your fantasy defense would have been the #1 defense in fantasy, 166 points. And that team has now lost its top 3 wide receivers from last year, its starting quarterback, its franchise center, and last year's Week 1 left tackle. How bad could they be? The 2006 Raiders were the lowest scoring team of the last 15 years. They allowed a whopping 15.8 fantasy points per game to opposing defenses. In other words, if you had started playing the defense that was facing the Raiders that year, you would have had over 252 points. Last year's #1 defense, the Vikings, had 157 points, like basically 100 points less. That's what we're potentially talking about with the Jets. So make sure you grab the Bills defense for Week 1, and after that, Oakland, Miami, Jacksonville, Cleveland. Most, if not all, those defense won't be drafted. If you play it right, the highest scoring fantasy defense this year is going to be on your waiver wire most weeks. I will say, however, that even if the Jets are as historically bad as people are projecting, it doesn't mean they don't have players worthy of your fantasy team. Remember 2008? A young politician named Barack Obama was running for president. Tiger Woods was a clean-cut golfing champion. And it would be the last year that Jeff Fisher won more than 8 games. That same year, the Detroit Lions went 0-16. And yet, on that same team, Calvin Johnson was wide receiver 3 for fantasy, and Kevin Smith, the rookie 3rd-round pick, not the director, had 1,200 yards from scrimmage and 8 touchdowns. Now, obviously, the Jets don't have anyone that's anywhere close to the talent of Calvin Johnson. But the fact is that even on terrible teams, there's fantasy value to have. The biggest beneficiary immediately, Matt Forte. We already know Bilal Powell, sorry, I've got a case of the Jets. Bilal Powell is going to touch the ball a ton. But Matt Forte may also touch the ball 15, 20 times a game. Look, they got no one else. Matt Forte's ADP is running back 35 in the 11th round. I like that, actually. My guess is that the leading wide receiver for the Jets this year isn't on the roster right now. They're going to be active on waivers once camp cuts hit. But for now, Robbie Anderson, the new #1. He's had a tough camp so far this year, but he was a top 10 wide receiver last year from weeks 13 through 15, so we have seen some NFL success from him. Now, somebody that's really interesting to me is our Darius Stewart, the rookie from Alabama. He's currently banged up, but once healthy, somebody to keep on your radar. 16 yards per catch and 8 touchdowns for the Crimson Tide last season. By the way, you're not drafting him. Remember, Austin Seferian-Jenkins is suspended for the first 2 games, but by all accounts, ASJ looks great. Don't forget, he played with quarterback Josh McCown in 2014 with Tampa Bay.
Matthew?
Secret Squirrel, what's up, Daniel?
You forgot you owe the Jets jars 5 pennies.
Ah, that is right. I forgot. Meet the Jets jar. What we're going to do is every single time we mention a Jets player this year, we'll put 1 penny in the jar. Will it fill up? Will the bottom even get covered? What kind of sweet Jets memorabilia will we be able to afford with a grand total? A Jets magnet? Maybe even a Jets sticker? Tune in all season to find out how many pennies we put in the Jets' jar. Now for something even less relevant than the New York Jets. Depth charts, specifically depth charts in early August. Now, there was a lot of panic in Fantasyland yesterday when the Patriots' Media Relations Department released the team's depth chart. They had 2 running back positions listed, and Mike Gillislee is 3rd in one of them, meaning he could actually be 6th behind Dion Lewis, James White, Rex Burkhead, Brandon Bolden, and James Devlin. Now, Gillislee's been a little bit banged up, so maybe that's why, but whatevs, dude. What you need to focus on are the 18 touchdowns by LeGarrette Blount last year that are now available. Who's going to get those? I think Gillislee gets the lion's share of touchdowns run in by the Patriots. Do not let yourself get duped by anything Bill Belichick or the Patriots say. Depth charts don't matter. Depth charts in early August matter even less, and depth charts in early August from the New England Patriots? Are you kidding me? Come on. I'm amazed Belichick didn't list Steve Grogan #1 on the quarterback depth chart just for fun. Want to see how useless depth charts are? Here's my original depth chart of potential sidekicks for this show. Number 1, Field Yates and Stephania Bell. Number 2, Bob Lee. Number 3, Ian Ziering. Number 4, an inanimate carbon rod. And number 5, Daniel Dobb. Where do we wind up? There you go. See? Depth charts mean nothing. Mike Gillislee's going to be fine. I'm still on board with him at an ADP of running back 29. You know, my rant on depth charts aside, just because depth charts in early August are pointless, like the fact that hashtag International Cat Day is trending today, doesn't mean that they can't also be true. I think we actually have a true one in Minnesota. Rookie Dalvin Cook, now listed as the #1 back on the team's official depth chart for its preseason debut Thursday night against the Bills, ahead of Latavius Murray, who is just coming off an injury. While I'm not as high on Cook as some other people, I do have him as running back 25 in PPR. And I do have him ahead of Latavius Murray. Yes, Latavius had a nice fantasy season last year, but let's look a little bit closer. His 1.71 yards after contact the last 3 years is 36th among qualified running backs. His success came in part because of the Raiders' great offensive line, which gave him 2.54 yards before first contact last season. Now he's heading to the Vikings, who were 31st in the league in that category, just 1.86 yards before contact last year. Again, only one team was worse in blocking before they got to the running back. So bad offensive line. Latavius has struggled to stay healthy, and now the Vikings have a playmaker in Dalvin Cook. Because of Cook's pass-catching ability and his fantastic maneuverability in space, that's going to play well in Pat Shurmur's offense. I think Cook gets the volume, with Murray possibly vulturing the few goal line opportunities the Vikings get. As a result, I currently have Latavius Murray at running back 52, but his involvement is going to hurt Cook, who I see as more of a flex initially than a true RB2. From one running back atop the depth chart to another, Ameer Abdullah. Now, lots of people liking Abdullah this year as a post-hype sleeper, but after missing most of last season to injury, Abdullah may now be missing where it really matters for fantasy backs, at the goal line. According to Dave Burkett of the Detroit Free Press, Abdullah on the sidelines last Friday when Detroit's first team worked on goal line situations. In his place, Zach Zenner. So now we can add Zenner's name to a committee that includes Ameer Abdullah and Theo Riddick. But here's a philosophical question for you. If a running back doesn't run, is he a running back? Look at this, okay? Last 2 years, no team in the NFL has run less than the Detroit Lions. If we're talking about the Lions' run game, why not talk about other things that don't exist? My career as a hair model, for example. Secret Squirrel's endorsement deals for shaving cream. Now, the Lions did add TJ Lang and Ricky Wagner to the offensive line in the offseason, and getting Abdullah back healthy certainly helps as well. So it should improve. But look, they're not suddenly going to become ground and pound, okay? Ameer Abdullah currently going in the 10th round as running back 32 on ESPN.com, and at that price, honestly, I'm fine with taking a flyer. But in some drafts on other sites, I've seen him going in the mid to high 20s in the 6th round. That is way too high for a guy who's going to lose goal line work to Zenner and who gives way to Theo Riddick on passing downs. Oh, and by the way, the Lions left tackle, Taylor Decker, also banged up. And he has yet to stay healthy, Abdullah now, in his NFL career. Secret Squirrel, you grew up in the Detroit area. You are a Lions fan. You've got Joey Harrington on your desk.
That's right, I do.
Your thoughts about this?
I'm as a pessimistic Lions fan, I have extremely cautious optimism about Ameer Abdullah, but I'm definitely higher on Theo Riddick this year.
Okay.
So here's my question. A lot of times we talk about how are these number 2 running backs going ahead of the actual starter on their team, but this is one of those instances where Theo Riddick as the number 2, would you have him ahead of the actual starting running back in Ameer Abdullah in PPR leagues?
And certainly in PPR leagues, because his role is defined. We know what his clear role is, right? He's going to be the passing down back.
Yep.
And obviously on a team that doesn't run that much, what are they doing if they're not running? They're passing. And he's the passing down back. Abdullah will get his, but honestly, if Zenner's getting the goal line touches and Riddick is the third down back, it doesn't leave a ton for Ameer Abdullah. Make sure to check out the debut of our TV show. That's right, we're going to eventually put this on television. That happens August 16th on ESPN, the Big Boy Network, 3 p.m. Eastern. After that, we go to ESPN2, where we will be daily at 5 p.m. Eastern. Please, wish us luck.